Do insertion. Now let's look at interrogative sentence which do not have an auxiliary in their declarative sentences. Do you like my rude drawings? If you take this sentence, we may see its basic pattern. Its basic pattern is, you like my rude drawing. So we don't have any do in it. So where does do come from? That is the question, right? So actually, if we give it a bracketing, in 14, we have sentence, noun phrase, which is the subject you, verb phrase with its tense, and like my rude drawing. This is the basic structure. In such a case, there is not only subject auxiliary inversion, but also do insertion. I mean, not only the subject has gone into the second place, rather there is a do which is inserted into the subject before the subject or between subject and verb, right? So this transition from 13 to 2 involves two changes. Actually, two changes have taken place in such a sentence in which do, we have different names for this do, dummy do, and a helping verb, or etc., etc., right? So where does it come from? So we have two changes. For example, one is subject or auxiliary inversion. The tense element is moved out of the verb phrase and placed in front of the noun phrase, or the which is the subject. So we take do from the tense element from its place and put it in the beginning of the sentence, and the subject or the noun phrase of the subject comes second, and then we insert a do into it, right? So we have seen that subject auxiliary inversion affect the first auxiliary and the present or past tense element associated with it. For example, do in the present and did in the past. If there is no auxiliary in the sentence auxiliary inversion affect only tense, which is also an auxiliary element, and tense is, we know whether it's present or it's past, and we know that present is do and past is did. So, but it's clear that in such cases we cannot stop after SAI, or else we would end up with an isolated tense affix in front of the subject noun phrase. So the tense, if we bring tense in the beginning, NP, you, and which is the subject, and VP like my rude drawings, so it won't give us much understanding. So tense can never occur on its own. Tense needs some visible word. It must always be attached to a verb or an auxiliary. We know tense through auxiliary or through verb. For example, if we have he teaches or they teach, right? We know that tense is in the verb, right? Or he is teaching, we know that tense is in the auxiliary is, right? So one way of saving this isolated or stranded tense marker is to insert a prop word, right, which has the function of carrying tense. This support word is the auxiliary do. So we also call it a support word, as we have seen. So we simply put do or insert do into it. So if you look at do insertion, so do insertion attaches do to stranded tense element. So what we get is do, instead of tense now we have do, and noun phrase, and tense goes to its place like, because we have to tell it through like my rude drawings. Let's look at another way of looking at do insertion. Surface structure is did the girl see him, and kernel sentence is the girl saw him. So if we analyze the sentence, the girl, past tense, past see and him. So we know past see is saw. Interrogative sentence, we will bring past into the front position and the remaining things remain there. Then we add do support. So we passed and do, and the girl see him. Now we can apply the affix switch rules. So do support is, do past is did, and the girl see him. So we get the sentence, did the girl see him, right? So similarly, followed by do insertion, if necessary, can subject auxiliary insertion can also occur in cases like this. No sooner had he entered the house than the police arrived. So sentences starting with no sooner, we must have SAI. Never did I, with never we must have the auxiliary do support or auxiliary with it. No account will he do such a thing. So we must have it in an interrogative structure. So SAI and do insertion are triggered by the presence of negative verb adjuncts such as no sooner, never, and on no account. So whenever we have such adjuncts, we must make it we must bring the auxiliary into the front position before the subject.